Hey everybody, you are tuning in to the Canary Cry News Talk live stream pre-stream. Thanks for being here. We got a great show today, and it's just about to get started. Isn't that exciting? Yes, it is. I wanted to remind everybody the countdown is a-ticking for the Q3 Canary Cry supply drop. And if you haven't heard about it, I'm sure you've heard about it, but if you haven't heard about it, the supply drop is such a beautiful program that we run for producers who sign up to support the show, the amount of $33 a month, because they love it and they value free independent flow of information, not funded by corporations or advertisers or, anybody in one of those dubiously elite classes of quote unquote humans on this earth. But want to support the show, value for value, baby. So if you support the show, go to canarycrysupply.com, sign up there, and we'll start sending you the supply drop every few months. We are creating brand spanking new custom Canary Cry News Talk gear. We're talking challenge coins. We're talking survival gear. We're talking the media, physical media. We've also got the Legends of the Canarium trading card game that we're releasing a new card every supply drop. Just so much fun stuff. And you're supporting the show. So we are running a promotion from now until September 1st. If you want to get in on the supply drop, go to canarycrysupply.com right now, sign up, and you will also receive an extra bonus gift. Yes, a bonus gift. It could be a challenge coin, could be the Tweet Hungry Boys apron, could be any number of previously released Canary Cry News Talk gear. But it's only for those who sign up new between now and September 1st. Remember, if you sign up on September 1st or after September 1st, you will not receive the Q3 supply drop. This is the cutoff. We try to be as clear and fair as we can. Some people miss the message. So go now, canarycrysupply.com. All right, folks, getting the show started. Buckle in. Stay hydrated. It's a good time.
The world is getting crazier. People are acting more and more insane. The end of the world is tomorrow. Tomorrow. There's only one thing to do when the world is falling apart. Listen to Basil and Gonz as they discuss this week's news and events through the lens of Bible prophecy. You are listening to Canary Cry News Talk.
You're listening to Canary Cry News Talk. We are live to tape today, August 22nd, 2022. This is episode 525, 525, baby. And today, Elon Concern. And signing on from off the grid, Razzle Dazzle. I'm your best buddy, Basil.
And my name is Gonz, your favorite Asian provocateur for Christ, a.k.a. the Cabana Boy, here from California, to serve you a podcast that brings you the best news, which is the gospel message of Jesus Christ, while reporting the egregious with a well-rounded, biblically grounded take on world events. And today's immersion phenomena is whirlwind.
Ooh, whirlwind.
It's a whirlwind.
Yay.
Literal, figurative, supernatural, all the above.
Fun. Well, in true whirlwind fashion, let me give you a rundown of the show, Gonz.
Do it.
Because of course you of all people need a rundown. We're gonna be starting off checking in with Elon, back making waves in an unexpected way recently. Of course, Flippy has taken over the world in so many aspects, but of course sports are of no exception. Then we're going to be checking in with Trump. My goodness, talk about a whirlwind with the Trump situation. The love affair between Trump, his supporters, and the FBI. We'll see how that is developing. Then, after the first break, we're going to be checking in with Christian nationalism. And as usual, it seems like some other outlets have caught on to the growing message that Christian nationalism is the biggest threat to American democracy. And we've got some great updates there. Then, after the next break, we are officially going to be waving adieu to YouTube. So YouTubers, you need to go to canarycry.party, sign up for a DLive account or something like that. We are still banned, suspended over on Twitch. So I'm suggesting DLive. Go now, make a DLive account, because we got a COVID vaccine update and some more earth-shattering monkeypox developments. And then at the end of the show, we'll be checking in with one of the most exciting phenomena that seems to be striking. No one is safe from the sinkholes. So we've got a breakdown on that too. But Gons, first, what's our lead story?
Speaking of holes,
you are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
Demonic power!
Elon Musk tweets, which of course is news nowadays. Anytime
Elon Musk tweets. Headline. Elon Musk tweets.
This is from Meaaw.com, who had the headline, "Very 1400s of you, Elon Musk roasted as his CERN tech is demonic tweet splits internet."
He's on the CERN tech is demonic train.
Yeah.
And somebody is calling him very 1400s.
Yes.
Oh, man, what does that make us?
1300s. It's interesting. We're going to talk about Christian nationalism today. I think this kind of adds fuel to the fire in a weird way. But
it fits the theme that we've been noticing after doing what we do for 10 years now. It seems like all the fringy, weird stuff that we've been talking about is now absolutely mainstream.
Yeah.
And this has been happening pretty much since the start of the Trump the
co-op
reign
started with Trump. Yeah.
But now you have Elon Musk talking about the demonic portal that is CERN. I mean, the world truly has, if we are in a simulation, it is taking its data from Canary Cry.
Ironically, CERN fired back on, and we were noticing some weird things happen. So, it's kind of a self-perpetuating Ouroboros type of situation here. But here's what the article says. The tech giant and billionaire Elon Musk has hit social media with another blast. This time, Tesla's founder and CEO called out CERN's Large Hadron Collider. Musk shared a meme on Twitter in which he called CERN's Large Hadron Collider demonic technology. The meme read, quote, "Please let me use the CERN Large Hadron Collider. I am normal and can be trusted with a demonic technology unlike anything the world has ever seen." End quote. And then it goes into what CERN is, a paragraph about it, which we don't have to. But
I don't even fully understand the tweet, the meme. I got to go pull it up myself.
Yeah, it's got the I forget the name of the face. Somebody in the chat would know. It's the guy who's oh
yeah, I'm looking at it. Okay. Yeah, I forget what the face is called. It's just one of these meme faces. It's kind of like the NPC,
right,
but
the NPC.
It's in the total blacked out position, which in meme speak means he's I think in this case he's
fully possessed.
It's like a dark Brandon is what it
right.
is. This is like a dark NPC type of thing.
Yeah. And it looks like it's just strung together, slapped together by a psychopath meme with letters and stuff. Please let me use the CERN large, and some really old pictures of CERN kind of floating around. And then
so as our resident meme scholar, can I give you some insight into this?
Yes, please break it down.
Okay, so this meme specifically fits into the category that for the purposes of this family show, I will use the term poop posting. Mm-hmm. This is what's called a poop meme, which means it's intentionally horrible. It's intentionally bad. It's intentionally kind of looks slapped together by somebody using Paint or something, MS Paint. And usually, as is common with poop memeing or poop posting, they actually do specifically kind of use these kind of what would be considered backwood internet theories. And Elon, notorious poop memer, poop poster.
Favorite kind.
It's his whole thing.
Favorite kind of meme.
He's admitted it. He's said it out loud. This I'm assuming was a piece of humor or an attempt at humor from Elon. But one that he specifically knows that people understand what he's talking about. And it shows how popular the genre, the category of CERN is not what it claims to be. It's only funny because people understand what he's talking about.
Right.
That's the biggest message I take from this is, oh my gosh, the idea that CERN is some sort of interdimensional portal, possibly letting demons into our realm, is no longer the purview of sort of fringy Christian weird podcasts that started circa 2012.
Right. Yeah, the Anthony Patch, Canary Cry News Talk, Canary Cry Radio, Face Like the Sun, CERN Watch, weirdness.
CERN Watch.
Yeah. I think I made 20-something videos on CERN, just documenting a bunch of stuff. You can find that on facelikethesun.live as an archived version on Odyssey. But yeah, it's fascinating because, again, it kind of split, as the headline says, it splits the internet, and what is it splitting? It's splitting between people that believe there's something going on and people that don't, or like, what are we doing here? What's Elon doing? Why is he dividing here and conquering? It's kind of an interesting.
He's kind of a Trump figure in that way, in that he may not even sort of have realized that anybody would care about this, or at least didn't think it would be offensive to anybody.
What he's doing. He's not stating. By the way, the plausible deniability of posting a meme is fun because he gets to say it, but not really mean it per se. He's not like clearly saying that he believes it, but he's talked about how AI is summoning the demon and stuff. So it's not.
Like a lot of the material for that theory comes like straight from Elon and people like Elon.
I think we have somebody that put together a jingle that I don't know if it's loud enough. Let's play it here.
The danger of AI is much greater than the danger of nuclear warheads by a lot.
Okay, well, yeah. Elon talking about AI being more dangerous than nuclear weapons, which, of course. I just thought it was interesting, culturally relevant, thematic in what we're going to talk about today with Christian nationalism and some Trump stuff too, maybe in context of sort of how the public is being conditioned and the divide and conquer continues and all that kind of stuff, because, again, one of the big points that I was constantly screaming about, and every time we do a show and every time CERN comes up, I'm kind of yelling about, is the documented quote from a physicist that worked at CERN saying, if we do it correctly, we should see other dimensions inside of little holes we would create with these little black holes that we're potentially making with the smashing of the particles and all this. And it's like, another world, huh? That's kind of interesting for a physicist to say. It sounds very biblical or something, or
language
spiritual.
About opening up doors, language about
paranormal,
they've used all the language themselves.
So to bring this back into full view is at a time like this too is very fascinating to me that Elon would go there.
Well, and this article that you brought is pretty interesting too, because tweets are news. So not only Elon tweeting is the news, but the entire article is just people tweeting back to Elon. Of course, making fun of him, saying that he's being dangerous and that he's, a billionaire, shouldn't be saying such silly things. And why don't you buy your own Hadron Collider so you can fact check it, et cetera, et cetera. And one of them, there was only one that they quoted in support. They did about a half a dozen criticizing him. They did bring in one in support. It goes like this. One user wrote in support of Musk, quote, "The possible outcomes are unfathomable. Why would we we as a populace allow them to test without restriction? Which is like the most reasonable possible response.
Yeah, like, just keep in mind, this is the most expensive machine ever built, according to human history.
Machine. It's, I mean, literally coming as close to possible as ripping holes in reality that humans can do right now. They claim themselves that they can open up little mini black holes and stuff like that. But they give that one in support, which is incredibly reasonable. Just like, whoa, this could have a lot of implications, and we should at least, vote on it or something.
Right.
The article continues, to which a user responded, CERN's particle accelerator can't create a cosmic black hole. The machine also won't cause a shift in time or space. The machine is being used by researchers to analyze how particles work in the universe. And it's like,
yeah, wow. There you go. What are you, an employee there? Are you trying to keep a job there? What's going on? That's the company line.
It really is. It's even more conservative than the company line. The company line themselves have admitted that
they've talked about dimensions and all that.
You have either a genius, quantum physicist who knows for sure that it's totally safe to be operating the Large Hadron Collider, or someone who just knows even less than anybody else does. So when they talk about the split in the internet, of course they're making a kind of a fun reference to the smashing of atoms and stuff that happens in the Large Hadron Collider. But as usual, the split being highlighted and sort of inflamed by the media itself. That's their job.
Yep. And it's working.
Nobody would even know. I wouldn't even know about this tweet if it weren't for the news.
Well, you don't have the alerts on every time Elon tweets?
Yeah,
it doesn't come top to
no.
Top
I mean,
it
feed? Does. It does send me little notifications occasionally when Elon tweets, but he tweets so much that I just ignore him. I mean, I don't have time to keep up with his poop posting. Yeah. Come on. No matter how much I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, we're pretty far into the rabbit hole, and it's only Monday.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
Sounds like somebody's got a case of the Mondays.
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
It is Monday, folks. In case you didn't know, and we're back with another great week of shows. Gons, anything you want to share before we get going here?
No, just wanted to say also, well, I will say, wife made some food, some tacos yesterday, some carne asada tacos. The most expensive piece of meat that I've bought in a while. I mean, it is ridiculous now.
Carne asada?
Oh, yeah. Just
That's
like
interesting.
real meat from, the farm, stuff like that, but also delicious. Absolutely delicious.
Well, I thought carne asada was sort of one of the more affordable meats out there.
No, not when you go to
not when you're in Southern California.
Kind of
at the Southern California farmers market is not. I get it. Well, we've got some exciting stuff for the Canary verse to announce real quick. As you may or may not know, I did not know it until I did. Burning Man is next week, Gonzo. And for those who have been around the Canaryverse for a while, know that we have done several boots on the ground participations in Burning Man. We've done interviews with Camp of the Unknown God, as well as some other people over there. We created some awesome some of the most favored bonus material that we ever created back when we made bonus material was my Burning Man boots on the ground tours, live reporting on the temple burn, things like this. And so I heard literally days ago that Burning Man was getting going or was happening this year. It has not happened for the past couple of years. And so I reached out to our buddy Carl Tykrip, who is just a fantastic scholar, an academician and author, and has been on Canary Cry Radio plenty of times. He does research, sociological research out there at Burning Man with the Camp of the Unknown God. And I said, well, if anybody knows what's going on out there, it's Carl. And so I got talking with Carl. Unfortunately, because of Canadian vaccine restrictions, et cetera, Carl is not going to be making it out there. But the Camp of the Unknown God will be out there conducting the same operations that they have been. And I got on the old Craigslist, got on the job, and was looking around for tickets, Gons. And I was able to secure a ticket. Now, this ticket, these Burning Man tickets, notoriously difficult to get, especially on the secondhand market. Every time that I'm able to do it, it is by the grace of God. Now, that does not mean that it is also not very expensive. So it is quite expensive. But we kind of took a step out in faith to, continue, I think, what is a very special part of the Canary Cry mission, which is having, direct contact with the social engineering boiler room, which I think is what we kind of consider Burning Man. Over our past few years of our boots on the ground reports, we've seen obscure lectures and obscure ideas being tested and taught and even lived out at Burning Man. And some of those things we are now seeing take place in the world, specifically even at Davos. A lot of the the psychedelic, sort of social engineering, where they want to make it a normal, part of leadership roles, things like this. We saw the psychedelic shaman at Davos teaching those same things. In fact, the psychedelic shaman was teaching lectures at Burning Man that we were able to report on years before it became part of the world structure. So these are things we're excited about. We think it's something that I believe it's a pretty treasured part of Canary Cry. The brand or the content that we can bring versus just your sort of normal news analysis show. So I did secure a ticket. There are plenty of costs that go along with this. As of now, I am planning to still do all the Canary Cry News Talk live streams from Burning Man, thanks to some high
Elon
tech
and his demonic technology.
Exactly. Basically, thanks to Elon, I'll be using a Starlink out there to try to do the show live, which should be exciting. But also working on lining up interviews with some very interesting people doing interesting work out there. Now, as usual, we are value for value. This is an unsponsored Canary Cry mission back out to the wilderness of Burning Man. And so if there are any producers out there, specifically, I would kind of like to, remind old school Canary Cry people how cool those episodes were. All kind of
controversial too. There's some Christians that were not happy that you were even there. Why would you walk? Why would you rub shoulders and talk to demon-possessed people? There were certain Christians who thought that I had become tainted for even appearing there at Burning Man, to which I say, I understand maybe you don't have the faith for me to go in there, but I feel very comfortable being I don't think that I'm going to be unsalvated for attending Burning Man, especially when it fits so snugly into our mission here at Canary Cry. So if you are a Canarian who appreciated those Burning Man episodes, perhaps you were on the Patreon when we gave those the bonus episodes, please consider producing this excursion, this boots on the ground mission out to Burning Man. Just put a note on your producership if you do that. The tickets, they were $1,500, which makes me cringe just thinking about it. But a few bucks more than the carne asada I had.
Yeah, just a bit, a bit. But, we talked about it, Gons, and we consider it an investment in our work and our mission and things like that. So a couple fun things. Hopefully, if technology provides or allows, I will be streaming next week from Burning Man, also getting some extra content while out there. And it should be very, interesting, if nothing else.
And the theme for this year is dreams or something, right?
Waking dreams.
Waking dreams.
Yes. This is one of the interesting things about our Burning Man missions is when we go out there, one of them was iRobot, and it's very specifically was like geared around getting, the normal sort of intellectual populace to accept robots and merging with machine.
Right.
And this was back after we had started the Flippy update, so we were already on it.
Yeah.
But it was just sealed the fate. And ever since Burning Man iRobot, we've seen a dramatic increase in merging with machines in the public milieu. Yeah. So Waking Dreams having some very interesting, what is it? I don't know.
Illusions. Well, we got dream engineering. I think that's going to be a big part of VR and metaverse and all that stuff. One of the effects that, there was a guy who did VR straight for 10 days or something, some YouTuber that did an experiment. And one of the things he mentioned in his report was that I couldn't tell, I had dreams that I was in VR and I couldn't tell if I was in VR or in a dream, or it was all kind of mixing together. So I think there's something there where the pathways are opening. It's the whirlwind is coming.
Absolutely. It's going to be very interesting. And it always not only provides for, good content for what we do, but it's like looking into the future almost.
Yeah, it's getting intel from the enemy's camp, so to speak, to let us know what's going on.
And it's been very fruitful in the past, and we hope it is again. So, yes, the ticket is purchased. There are some other costs associated with like food and supplies and stuff like that. So if anybody's interested in specifically helping produce that trip, I think we will be probably giving, special producership credits to anybody who wants to specifically produce the Burning Man aspect of next week's set of shows.
And just know, you're equipped with the knowledge. If you can't breathe, you know what to do.
If I can't breathe out my mouth, you mean?
Yeah.
I hear you. Yeah. Yeah. Jeez Louise, you can play the pig jingle now. So that's what's going on. Sorry, I wasn't more, articulate with it, but that's, I'll be mentioning some aspects of that throughout the week. And if you're interested in helping us out, you can produce the same old way, just in your note, or send us an email. Let us know that you want it to go towards the Burning Man mission. And that's all for that. Speaking of producers, Gons.
Yeah.
Time to thank some executives.
Okay.
Executive producers.
That's right. We're on the value for value model, which means we take no corporate money whatsoever. No advertisements, affiliate codes, platform partnerships, nothing. We are entirely funded by people who get value out of this show. And that's how it's supposed to be, folks. No corporation is being let to psychologically manipulate you or wiggle their corporate profit motives into this show. If you get value from this show, put value back in. It's the only way that it works. And you can do it with your time, your talent, or your treasure. But we're going to thank some financial producers, specifically the executives who come in and produce the show, carry a heavy load, and it really makes this show possible for everybody else. So we thank them very much. And unfortunately, Gons, no executive producers today.
Well.
Don't we have like a more produced, no executive producer jingle laying around somewhere?
Maybe.
I think we do. We got to make sure to get it on the list.
Yeah.
So there you go. But the good news is there's still time. If you're someone who gets value out of this show, perhaps you see the value in doing boots on the ground reporting from Burning Man. You've seen the fruit that has come from that in the past. Head on over to canarycryradio.com/support.
Canary Cry Radio. Wapo.com/support.
That's right. Was there anything else we were going to mention?
Meetups, because there's a bunch of meetups coming up.
Yes.
Canary Crime Meetup.
Yeah, canarycrimemeetups.com. Go check it out. We got meetups going on all over the place, hosted by Canarians, producers of the show. In 2 days, on the 24th, listen up, Knoxville, Tennessee. If you are within the Knoxville, Tennessee region, go to the Canary Cry Knoxville Market meetup. We have a new
Square, yeah.
Market Square, yes. We've got a new flyer for it that is not on the website yet, but it got sent out in the email. And it's this Wednesday at 10 a.m. at Market Square. I believe it's like a farmer's market or something. I'm not actually sure. But go check it out. We had a change in host contact. It was organized sheep at proton.me. It is now organized sheep at gmail.com.
Okay.
Yeah. So email organized sheep at gmail.com. Funny, ironic contact information. Don't freak out, people. Okay. So Tennessee meetup on the 24th. And of course, this next weekend, we have the Houston, Galveston, Texas meetup on the 27th. We've got the Ozark, Branson, Missouri on the 27th and 28th. And we've got the Garland, Texas meetup on the 27th. Yes, those are the ones.
That's
if you go to
August.
If you go to canarycrimemeetups.com, you can get the contact info for those and show up. And just because we're coming to the end of the month, I will mention we have Denton, Texas on September 3rd, and we have Bend, Oregon on September 4th. So those are coming up as well. Bend, Oregon, and Denton, Texas. Go to canarycrimemeetups.com to check it all out. We'll see you there.
This is fun.
Flippy update.
Do you want fries with that?
That's right, folks. It's time for the Flippy update. Flippy is our colloquial name for the disembodied robot arms that are taking our jobs, enslaving our children, and flirting with our spouses. We use talking about Flippy as a way to explore all the new, fun, and exciting ways that robots are taking over the world and how there's nothing we can do about it. You know, at one of the previous Burning Man boots on the ground missions, there was a lot of robot-themed art that we found fascinating in the context of Flippy. But this is not about art. This is about sports, Gons.
Sports ball.
Bots. This is coming from the Washington Post, which is odd that we're getting the Flippy update from such a big outlet. But it says this robot quarterback could be the future of football practice.
Practice?
Ooh, practice.
Talking about practice?
You got to practice with the robots, Gons.
Practice, not a game. Sorry, go ahead. Continue.
Listen up, Green Bay Packers fans. When the Green Bay Packers walked onto the practice field this week, they were greeted by an unusual new teammate, a robot. Right off the bat, considering the robot a teammate.
Teammate, yeah.
Not a piece of equipment.
No.
It's a teammate. In videos on Twitter, a 6-foot-tall white robotic machine.
I saw that. I highlighted 6-foot-tall white robotic machine because
you're letting a white robot onto the field.
Well, he's a quarterback, so they tend to be more white than black.
Sports jokes.
Yeah, sports jokes.
I don't know, but I trust you. All these white robotic quarterbacks. In videos on Twitter, a 6-foot-tall white robotic machine simulates a punter kicking balls at a rapid pace to players downfield. The robot, which holds 6 balls in a revolving cartridge, could also imitate a quarterback's style, including the speed,
Speed, arc, and timing of the throw.
Oh, arc.
Yeah.
Arc looked like it was A-R-E, not A-R-C. Okay, let me try that again.
Zoom in.
Take 2. The robot, which holds 6 balls in a revolving cartridge, could also imitate a quarterback style, including the speed, arc, and timing of a throw. The device, called the Seeker. Ooh. The Seeker.
The Seeker.
Is a robotic quarterback, kicker, and punter rolled into one. He's a modern-day version of a piece of football equipment called a jugs machine. Okay, sports boys, you got to find better names for your robots. That's been used to simulate throws and kicks to football players for decades. The Seeker company officials say, however, is a more accurate thrower and runs software to let players practice more advanced gameplay scenarios. The robot, created by Dallas-based Monarch. So this is the thing. Washington Post's font, the C and the E are very difficult to tell the difference. I'm just saying it. I'm moving on. Is it a C? It is a C, isn't it?
It's Monarch.
Yeah. Sports.
Monarch, like Project Monarch, the mind control. Yeah.
It's starting to gain adoption. Prestigious college football programs such as Louisiana State University, the University of Oklahoma, blah, 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 blah. Don't care. All count the Seeker as part of their training strategy. The Green Bay Packers are the first team in National Football League to try the technology. The Seeker software allows players to customize how they practice with it. Athletes can catch balls from close to the machine to improve hand-eye coordination. And Sports Boy is laughing. What's so funny?
No, I'm showing the video from the Twitter feed there that shows, the Seeker, and the guy, he's got a little touchpad, and the distance to throw the football on the touchpad, 33.3 yards.
No way.
Not even kidding. It's kind of hard to see, but yeah, of course, of course.
I see it now.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Illuminati messaging is complete.
Yeah.
Okay, see, this is why we do this, folks. You may have thought SportsBot was going to be boring and just grasping at straws, but no, the messaging is right there. They can also program the robot to throw a ball at a specific spot on the field or simulate a more lifelike conditions by over/under throwing the ball. Players wear a pager-like tag, which allows the robot to track their location on the field and throw a ball accurately within inches. Quote, it gives so much opportunity for our guys to get reps without the need of having a quarterback there. Watch out, quarterbacks, said Ben Hansen, the director of football administration at the University of Iowa, where the technology was first tested. That's a huge plus. It's a huge plus, Gons. Get the quarterbacks out of there. We don't need them showboating.
This could also
guys.
It can also speak to the quarterbacks are racist, or not quarterbacks. Robots are racist.
The robots are racist
because the only position that gets upgraded to a robot is the majority white position.
So is that true? Is quarterback a majority white position?
It is.
Or is that just kind of like a...
No, it's there obviously are black quarterbacks, but it's been a thing for a while, and
I will
it gets
say
brought up.
I'm not much of a sports boy, but these other sports boys that I do know that are quarterbacks are all white. I can't even.
Who is the most decorated quarterback, Basil? Do you know?
I don't know. I don't know the trivia. No, but I could start naming football names.
Okay,
you could tell me Joe Montana.
You're not wrong, but I love how everything just goes back to late 80s, early 90s. Your little sports window. It's hilarious. It's like there's nothing. There's no sports other than this 5-year window of Basil's youth. It's hilarious. Joe Montana. That's right. Steve Young replaced him. He's white.
I know Tim Tebow. I know Tim Tebow. I know that one.
I think people are going to unsubscribe.
Is that not a one?
No, he was not good. He was not.
He's not good. I thought he had lots of rings or whatever.
He was not good. But anyway, Tom Brady.
I know that
Tom
one.
Brady is the most decorated quarterback. Yeah. So and he's definitely a Caucasian.
You know what? I definitely was trying to say Tom Brady when I said Tim Tebow.
Tim Tebow. Okay. Yeah. All right. For a non-sports guy, I can see how they're both white. Look,
when it comes to the quarterbacks, they're all white, man. Yeah. They're all those white quarterbacks. They all look the same to me. I can't tell them apart.
Yeah. Well, there's
not because they're white, but because they play football.
Yeah. There's some black quarterbacks out there, but it's been a topic in the sports realm, because it's all woke stuff. So
back to this white robot. We had the basketball dunking robot that the Chinese showed off at the Olympics at one time. We've seen more of these robots enter into the sports arena, sometimes literally the sports arena. And, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, yeah, it's a practice bot, man. Yeah, of course. Yeah, you save the quarterback's, I don't know, muscles during practice. And it's all about economics of improving your whatever, I don't know, sports terms. But you got to remember, this is exactly the same way that they've been marketing medical robots and manufacturing robots and every new robotic system that comes out. Medical? Did I say medical? I said medical. Every new robotic system that comes out is marketed in, no, this isn't going to replace you. It's simply supposed to make your life easier. It helps you. It's your helper. It's cobot, which is a great term that they've coined. But inevitably, and we saw this with Elon, he specifically is coming out and saying like, oh yeah, no, this isn't going to help anybody. This is just to replace humans. We're just trying to replace humans.
It takes a little bit more, and I'm not a huge football fan. I stopped watching football several years ago. It just wasn't my thing. But the quarterback for the Green Bay Packers, which is where this practice robot is stationed, his name is Aaron Rodgers. And recently he came out and talked about how he took ayahuasca and he's like this spiritual guy and he's anti-COVID vaccine and all this kind of stuff. Very interesting.
He's an older man, right? Too. He's an older guy. Isn't he an older guy?
He's my age. He's older than you. So
older
guy.
He's got 1 foot in the grave. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So anyway, just a small detail that you may not have picked up on with
I totally missed that
thing. So
yeah, well, I think it's interesting. This is going to go the same way that they all go. They're going to be practicing with this robot, and the coach is going to be sitting there thinking, "Man, I wish our quarterback threw as good as this robot."
I know.
And you know what?
And then the robot's going to talk to him in the metaverse. Let me in, coach.
Yeah,
I can do it.
Yeah, it's going to be a very dramatic scene.
Seeker,
and the NFL,
Seeker.
You've got to remember the NFL is a corporation whose main goal is to make profits, and it's only a matter of time.
It's an entertainment league.
Exactly, until it's more entertaining to watch a robot than it is a human, and they put this white robot on the field, replace humans, and you know what, Guns, though, before Seeker, which is kind of an ominous name, by the way.
It's a weird name.
The weird name,
considering receivers and
speaking
backs.
of Burning Man, seekers, they're like they're spiritual seekers,
right.
Man. And then there's Seeker, which is a sports. Actually, funny enough, Seeker is a sports term from Harry Potter. For all you Potter heads out there, I got you. Where was I going? Oh. Before Seeker becomes, an actual part of the NFL, we are definitely going to make Seeker a member of the NWO Fantasy League, baby.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to leave him out.
Get him before anybody else does.
Yeah, that could be a really big marketing thing. The only fantasy league to incorporate Seeker, the robot quarterback. That's real.
Maybe we could get a sponsorship deal or something from them.
That would be selling out our whole thing. That's kind of not how we operate.
So there you go. Watch out, football boys. The robots are coming for you. That's your Flippy update for the day.
All right, we're going to move right into the next thing here.
We will launch a new age.
I am innocent.
They're coming after me.
Psyops.
So good. Thank you. Who made us those new jingles?
Caleb. We're going to thank him later on.
We'll thank him. Yeah. Thank you, Caleb. We couldn't pass up the opportunity to play those right off the bat. Okay, I got some updates on the Trump thing. The Trump thing is so overwhelming. We kind of just have to cover it one day a week now. Similar to how it's not a formula, but we've kind of been doing Ukraine, Russia on Wednesdays, Trump, a lot of the Trump stuff starts happening on Friday and goes over the weekend because
they need clicks on weekends. So,
exactly.
Yeah.
It keeps the clips coming over the weekend. But my gosh, Gons, I was working yesterday reading articles, and it was incredible. I just got sucked down the most fascinating series of events in regards to the Trump Mar-a-Lago raid thing. And so I'm going to bring a couple articles here to just kind of set the stage.
Okay.
You ready?
Yep, ready. Okay,
we're going to start at Huffpo. Now, we don't do a lot of Huffington Post, mainly because they're just not good at what they do. But Huffington Post is on a war path over the weekend.
A rampage.
And it's fascinating. So this is coming from Huffington Post. Now, remember, there was the sort of inklings that there was a mole in the Trump camp. And there's theories that he, fed bad information to root out the mole and blah, 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 blah. This is Huffington Post. Headline: Matt Gaetz's GOP opponent releases ad suggesting he's the Mar-a-Lago informant. Oh,
sounds like a marketing shtick.
Exactly. Isn't it hilarious? It isn't
I'm the guy.
Yeah, it isn't like Trump catches mole or, the mole outs himself or leaked documents. It's Matt Gaetz releases an attack ad. A Republican primary challenger to Representative Matt Gaetz has released an attack ad suggesting the Florida congressman tipped off the FBI about potentially classified documents stored at Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago residence in Palm Beach. Quote, "When Trump really endorses someone, he goes big," the ad's narrator says. I wish we had it to play the clip. Quote, "What does Trump know? Is Gaetz the informant?"
Real subtle. Real
says
subtle.
it straight outright. The 30-second spot by Mark Lombardo's campaign tells voters that Gaetz, quote, "put himself first, ahead of Trump and ahead of you." Noting that the Florida lawmaker unsuccessfully pressured Trump for a blanket pardon after the January 6, 2021 riot at the U.S. Capitol. It also slammed him for paying an attorney who represented the late convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Ooh.
That just keeps coming back, doesn't it?
It's the only tangible attack vector that
it is a real attack vector for sure. Trump's base has been incensed amid reports that an informant tipped off the FBI about documents kept at Trump's Florida home, paving the way for last week's raid of the property. Lombardo, a Marine combat veteran, bills himself as an America First conservative who supports Trump. On his site, he accuses Gaetz of repeatedly showing poor judgment and putting his political interests ahead of yours. There has not been any public evidence to suggest that Gaetz is the informant. And then it goes on. I think it's fascinating that the attack ad includes Gaetz puts himself first instead of Trump and ahead of you. It's like the lack of loyalty to Trump is a very real and convincing attack ad topic.
Yeah.
Like, oh, he cares about himself more than he cares about Trump is a very shows a very strange mentality to me. But, we're not like pro-Trumpers here, so maybe that doesn't sound so weird to some other people. But yeah, there you go. Okay, so we've got that floating around, just like who's the mole? Who's the mole? And now you've got Republican primary candidates literally throwing each other under the bus. Well, not literally, but you get it. They're accusing each other.
Yeah.
They're figuratively throwing each other under the bus, publicly accusing one another of being a mole in the Trump administration, which is just
kind of a disturbing state of affairs of American politics.
Truly
if you ask
is.
Me, but
it's got
continue.
a truly sort of dystopian.
Yeah.
It kind of I don't know why, but it reminds me of like an 80s sci-fi. It reminds me of Dune is what it does. You know, so, and Star Wars is a little bit this way, but if you remember Dune, I don't know if you're super familiar with Dune, like so much of it is just kind of really boring space politics.
Space politics, yeah.
And a lot of Star Wars is like that too. It's like half of the movie is just space politics. And it's really dystopian and really strange. And it just kind of reminds me of that, watching, you know, such intense public accusations going back and forth in the Florida primaries. Yeah. Now, we're just touching on that. We're moving on to Newsweek.com here, Newsweek. Which is we've uncovered is more likely than not a CIA outlet. The headline is Trump wanted to use classified documents as leverage. Ex-lawyer says. Ex-lawyer. Michael Cohen. Remember that guy?
Yeah.
He's back, baby. He's back. Michael Cohen, who previously worked as an attorney and vice president for the Trump Organization, said he believes former President Donald Trump wanted to use some of the classified documents he kept at Mar-a-Lago as leverage in the future. And then it talks about the raid. I'm going to jump down to some of the quotes here. Quote, this is under the first picture there, Gons. Quote, I think he was going to use it as leverage, Cohen said. There's no other reason. So he thinks he's going to use it as leverage. There's no other reason. That apparently by that he means that he wants to talk about right now with the reporter. The former Trump administration executive said he, quote, could understand, end quote, by the way. They quoted, could understand, and then go on in their own words, why his former boss wanted to keep, quote, the love letters, end quote, from North Korea's Kim Jong-un. Cohen said Trump may show such items to people in the future in an effort to impress them. Impresses in quotes, too. So this leverage, the first example of leverage is not like blackmail or selling it to the Russians. It's just like, hey, look at
my letter.
He loves me.
Kim Jong-un loves Trump.
The quote says, so he'll put out a letter from the Queen or pull out a letter from Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan or from Russian President Vladimir Putin or Kim Jong-un, like the love letters he kept talking about for months and months. Okay, he'll show those. Oh, look what this person said about me. I'm really smart, really handsome, really rich. That's what he'd use those for, Cohen said.
Oh, my gosh. How? What? I don't even have words. I'm completely like, what's the point? We know the point, Newsweek, but really, this is complete nonsense.
It's hilarious. In the absence of...
such a waste of words and energy.
Yeah. Exactly. In the absence of the affidavit being released or anything, which would be the real interesting thing, they're just like, I don't know, talk to Cohen. Yeah, he just likes the letters and he'd show them off. But it's also giving a tip because they released the receipt of documents from the raid. But Cohen is here really suggesting like he was keeping personal items. Love letters.
Yeah, it's not Putin. Political. It's like self-serving.
Right, exactly.
And which, by the way...
which is like, surprise, surprise, American politician, self-serving.
I was going to say, don't you think Obama has some letter to the Kenyan president or something? Hey, look at this. I shook his hand. He loved me. Or like something, it's every president probably has a little bit of that. So I don't know, whatever. Who cares?
Well, and there's other things, but there you go. There's one more quote here that is a little bit more intense. Here's the quote. The second they would put him in handcuffs, talking about arresting Trump, he would turn around and say, I have the documentation showing, for example, he's just giving an example, where our nuclear launch pads are, the former attorney said, quote, this is what I believe. He would use it and say, if you proceed with this, I'm telling you right now, there are 20 of my loyal supporters. You don't know who they are, but we will release that information to Russia, to Iran, to whoever it may be. So you have Michael Cohen just really spinning a fascinating yarn of the possibilities of why Trump would have kept certain documents. And the range of possibilities are he's keeping old love letters to show how much Kim Jong-un thought he was handsome, to the second you put handcuffs on him, he's going to send nuclear secrets to Russia.
Wow.
Yeah. It's really...
spoken like a true intel narrative man with no self-conscience and self-critical thinking, whatever. I mean, come on.
If you've been wondering where Michael Cohen's been, by the way, the former attorney who was disbarred received a 3-year prison sentence in December of 2018, but was released. He was released to serve the remainder from home during the COVID-19 pandemic.
Yeah. So maybe he's the one that was like, "Oh, you got to get me out of here. Come on,
got to get me out of here, man.
That COVID or something.
Let me out of here. I'll say whatever you want. Just get me out of here.
Get me out." So, all right. Okay. Newsweek.
So you can kind of see where this is starting to head here. Now, one of the most interesting ones that I came across, Fox News headline: "The Trump Mar-a-Lago search was justified." Now, this is an opinion by Bradley P. Moss on Fox News, but it was pushed out to all their push notifications, so they really wanted people to read this. It's not too long, and it's pretty fascinating, so we'll just get going. Ever since news broke 2 weeks ago that the FBI had executed a search warrant on former President Donald Trump's residence at Mar-a-Lago, the political world has been aflame with hyperbole, accusation, innuendo, and hysteria.
Oh, wow. Exactly how they wanted it to be.
Exactly. Yeah. That's it's the news. Of course,
it's almost like, hey, it's working.
Every legal pundit and pundits pretending to know something about the law have emerged to try to explain what is really happening here. And the former president and his allies, as is their custom, have sought to flood the zone with political justifications and haphazard legal explanations to deflect from his conduct. The truth needs to be set forth plainly and simply. And so let's get down to brass tacks here. What happened on August 8th, 2022 was not tyranny. It was not political persecution. It was not a minor dust-up over bureaucratic processes blown out of proportion. It was the criminal justice system operating just like it does with any other private citizen on any other given day, ending in a Y.
Oh my gosh.
So stop freaking out, everybody.
That's kind of terrifying, but okay.
That's exactly the thought that I had. I'm like, okay, Fox, if you're trying to say, like, tell everybody to calm down, I get it, whatever, if that's what you're doing. But to say that that was totally normal and we should all expect the same treatment is the most terrifying way to think about it. It goes on. Trump was the president and commander-in-chief up until noon on January 20th, 2021. The moment Joe Biden took the oath of office, Trump became just another private citizen in his 70s who vacations in Florida during the winter months to avoid the bitter cold back in his native home in the Northeast. He was no longer shielded by any privileges or protections of the office of the presidency. At the point beyond physical security and protection, he is subject to the laws of the United States just like anyone else. And I had started to put together a list of reasons why that is not the case. And I just decided it wasn't the most profitable way to spend our time here. But it's also wrong. Ex-presidents have a long list of benefits, expanding past just having
some security guards. Yeah, of course.
I mean, you get diplomatic immunity, you get diplomatic passports, you get there's a lot of stuff that an ex-president gets besides protection. So I don't know so much. It kind of made me question this guy, but What is also true is that Trump had particular legal obligation as the former president to properly turn over presidential records to the National Archives and Records Administration. That is mandated by the Presidential Records Act because those records are the property of the United States. They are not Trump's personal property. In a competent White House, this process would have started within days of his election and blah, 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 blah. Goes on to say, basically, look, everybody else gives their records back. Why wouldn't you give your records back? Blah, blah, blah. There's nothing here. Everybody calm down.
We don't know that that's true either. That's
exactly.
Just assumed. Yeah.
Thank you. That is sort of assumed, but also we just don't know. There could be plenty of situations where, I mean, even if it is just a love letter from Putin, you don't like. Who's to say that Obama didn't keep his love letters from? Who would have written him love letters? Well, there's the Ukraine thing.
Ukraine, yeah.
So let's keep moving. He gets into the top secret and the confidential and kind of the different levels there, but mainly says blah 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 blah. He should have given it all back. You can skipping down past the third video there. Those search warrants also tend to result in agents. Oh, this is the part. Okay. Our jails are filled with people who have gone to jail for less. Good point. Search warrants are executed on properties and residences every day by local, state, and federal law enforcement authorities in a manner no different than what happened at Mar-a-Lago. Maybe. I don't know. I don't know about
if you're a person of interest.
Okay. Yeah. Those individuals as lawyers also are not permitted to impede or micromanage the execution of the warrant, just as Trump's lawyers were not permitted to do so. Those search warrants also tend to result in agents rummaging through areas that contain personal items, but which fall within the scope of the search warrant, such as happened at Mar-a-Lago. Okay, except for the passports weren't on the list, but okay. The individuals subject to the search warrant also are not permitted access to underlying probable cause affidavit unless and until there is an actual criminal indictment. Trump is not special in that regard. None of this means former President Trump will ultimately be indicted. He very well might be, and other individuals who removed properly marked classified records from secure locations have been prosecuted and sent to prison for that offense. If Trump is indicted, he will have access to the full criminal justice process and can make every declassification defense he wishes at that time in pre-trial motions. Until that time, let the justice system run its course. Fox News coming out and just saying, hey, enough of this craziness, everybody. Just let it happen. Just totally let it happen. And you might think, as I did immediately, to make this about Trump, Fox and Trump's relationship. Ooh, Fox is, letting Trump, letting him off the hook or leaving him out to dry or something. Fox turning on Trump, which, we've kind of followed that winding path before. But then it occurred to me, this is not Fox distancing from Trump or, turning on Trump. This is Fox siding with the FBI. Very specifically, we have Fox siding with the FBI and the justice system altogether. And this is sort of reflective of how a lot of Republicans are kind of going back on their defund the FBI rhetoric. Remember all the defund the FBI stuff?
Yeah.
And so we've seen Republican after Republican kind of pull back from that and which is probably for their own good. You don't want to make enemies with the FBI, especially if you're a politician who has a midterm coming up, because anything could come up.
Yeah.
Now, this includes, for an example, this is not a full read, but just a mention here. Another Huffpo article, headline, GOP candidate says FBI agents would be put in a body bag if his home were searched. Florida. They're all Florida people. Everything's Florida. You got the Matt Gaetz and the other guy going on in Florida. You got the Mar-a-Lago. And now a Florida Republican candidate for Congress threatened that FBI agents would go home in a body bag if they ever try to search his house the way they did Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago home. In a shocking video he posted to YouTube on Saturday, Sarasota businessman Martin Hyde said, quote, "I wish they'd turn up in my home because they'd have gone home in a body bag.
It will kill."
When they turned, this is another quote, when they turned up at Mar-a-Lago and raided the home of the President Trump, that was an assault on every one of the 75 million people who voted for Donald Trump. It was an assault on democracy, Hyde baselessly claimed in the video. They're just putting that word baselessly anywhere now. Doesn't even fit. Quote, "These people would stop at nothing." And then it goes into the story. But this is the kind of rhetoric that you're hearing from, from a lot of
GOP.
Republican people. Now, interestingly enough, if you go all the way down to the bottom of this article, Gons, I don't know if we want to play it, but a police body cam footage came out of this Hyde fella, Martin Hyde, where he got pulled over for speeding. And
is it a fella or a lady? Is it a feller?
Is a fella.
Okay.
Martin Hyde is a fella. And he got pulled over for speeding. And the police released the body cam footage of how he responded to the officer. And it is atrocious.
Oh, my gosh. It is asking me for all kinds of weird things here.
What?
It's for some reason it's not allowing me to just pull it up. I got privacy thingies or something.
If we don't need to bother.
Okay.
But he just treats this police person atrociously. He is the worst human. He's like, "Do you know who I am? Call your boss. Call your boss. You know who I am? You're making a big mistake, lady." And she's like, "Dude, you're going 50 in a school zone. I have to pull you over." He's like, "You don't know the power I have to ruin you."
Oh boy.
It's not a good look for this fella.
A good look.
So just to give you an idea of who he is. So that's the kind of stuff they're dealing with. Back to Huffpo, okay?
More Huffpo.
More Huffpo.
Puffin' Ho.
I know.
I almost said something bad. Continue.
Well, that's part of the fun, is that this whole storyline is unfolding at Huffington Post. So they got the message, okay? There's an agenda going on here. But this one was very fun also. HuffPost. Trump suddenly loves sleazy FBI agents. Insists he always has their backs.
You know what? This is the same author, Mary Poppinfuss.
Is it the same one as the last one?
Same author.
Same author. So this Poppinfuss person got the memo.
Not the Matt Gaetz article, but the last two are the same, yeah.
Yeah, sort of single-handedly creating a very interesting narrative. Right. She's a narrative crafter. Former President Donald Trump has pulled a dramatic about-face to hail great FBI agents in the wake of the search of his Mar-a-Lago home, and boasts that he has always had their backs. He also claimed in a Truth Social post on Saturday that FBI agents like, even love him a lot. Those were quotes, by the way. Trump attacked the FBI as seditious, abusive, criminal, and sleazy after agents hauled out about 20 boxes of White House material from his Florida home, including 11 sets of classified information. Those records should have been turned over to the National Archives when Trump's term ended, according to the Presidential Records Act. In days that followed the search, Trump baselessly called it a sneak attack. Baselessly again!
It's her favorite word.
This woman is just putting baselessly in places that it doesn't need to be.
She baselessly puts the word baselessly everywhere.
Very good. You got her. Called it a sneak attack and a raid and a siege and corrupt. He also claimed FBI agents planted evidence in his home. No, he didn't. He did not claim that. He did hint at it, but he did not make the claim.
He hinted at the possibility.
Yeah, right. Trump claims agents are furious at FBI leadership for the political weaponization against the president. Parenthetical, me. So that's the quote. Now, she uses so many chopped up quotations that even when I was reading it alone, I started reading it like this. Now, Trump claims agents are furious at the FBI leadership for the political weaponization against the president, me. They don't like being used by people they do not agree with or respect, he wrote in a post. He went on to add that agents are not thrilled with the leadership of the Department of Justice. So now he's talking about head of the FBI, which is Christopher Wray, and head of the Department of Justice, which I believe is, what's his face? Merrick Garland.
Garland, yeah.
Yeah. There's currently no evidence to support any of Trump's claims. Trump chose current FBI Director Christopher Wray in 2017 after firing former head James Comey amid the investigation into Russian interference in the 2016 presidential election. And I don't think I'm going to go into the Crossfire hurricane, but this author, this reporter, whatever she is, brings up Crossfire Hurricane quite a bit. And I asked you before the show, Guns, if you know what Crossfire Hurricane is. And you said no. And I said, of course, because nobody really does. Crossfire Hurricane was the official name of Russiagate investigation. And instead of referencing the Steele dossier, which has been debunked, or, Russiagate, which has been debunked, and lost all credibility on those, they've started using the official term Crossfire Hurricane to describe like another horrible thing that Donald Trump did. And nobody knows what it is. But now that they're using Crossfire Hurricane, they can talk about this mysterious, horrible thing that Trump did. And nobody really knows. Like, you got to dig. You got to do some research to know what it is. But that's besides the point. So it's not clear, it goes on, why Trump suddenly moderated his tone on federal law enforcement. It may have to bring his social media slightly more in line with his rally speeches backing policing. Attacks on the FBI by Trump and his supporters following the Mar-a-Lago search have also come under increasing criticism. Federal authorities warned this month of a spike in threats in law enforcement. And it goes on to talk about what we know, Ricky Schiffer, who assaulted the FBI office in Cincinnati, right. Mentions some other ones that I actually hadn't even heard of, and more or less ends with this idea that Trump is suddenly now trying to get FBI on his side. And he has quotes saying, oh, don't worry, folks. Things like, FBI agents aren't the problem. The FBI agents are the good guys. The agents are okay. Don't go kill any FBI agents is what he's getting at. It's the leadership that's the problem. FBI leadership, and the FBI agents are mad at the leadership.
It's exactly in line with my little FBI informant friend, co-person that I know.
Your buddy,
my
handler.
FBI buddy.
Yeah,
that was his thing. He was like, oh, it's leadership. None of the actual agents. And he's actually a Trump supporter, So,
okay.
So he's an open Trump supporter, self-proclaimed pencil pusher at the FBI. And his whole response was, oh, it's just a small group at the top. And, it doesn't represent all of us out here doing our jobs, blah, blah, blah. So
there you go. So Trump's really leaning into this. And I found it, when I first read it, I found it actually quite threatening. Because he's saying this in response to people attacking FBI agents and calling for the killing of FBI agents. It's in the context of that where Trump is like, no. Don't kill any FBI agents. It's the leadership that's the problem. The leadership being Christopher Wray, who it seems like has turned against Trump. Trump put him in the job. And it kind of sounds like a little bit of a threat to Christopher Wray to me. I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to, he's obviously not outright doing that. But when you put the pieces together, if I were Christopher Wray, I would be a little concerned about Trump turning the ire of his supporters from the agency as a whole to Christopher Wray as an individual.
Yeah,
that would put me a little on edge.
Yeah, there's that Wall Street Journal headline, FBI Director Christopher Wray tried to keep the Bureau out of politics, then came Mar-a-Lago's search.
Right, yeah.
So
there's this whole
just
thing.
trying to be a non-political, a good serving, leader of the FBI, but then Mar-a-Lago. It's all Trump's fault. Yeah.
And there's this whole analysis about how he didn't want to be like Comey. Comey,
right?
The previous one, he
highly
sort of
politicized, but also
famously put himself out in the public eye and was making comments on things, and as the FBI head of the FBI, that's not normal. You're not supposed to be like a public figure. You're a boss spy. Like you're the boss of the feds. You're not a spokesperson.
Right.
So he's trying not to be like Comey, but this whole thing has put Christopher Wray in the spotlight, and he's not a big fan of that. So there you go. Huffington Post, hard at work over the weekend, creating this storyline where, the FBI and the Republican Party as a whole having a very complicated relationship, culminating in Trump sort of calling off the dogs, but putting Christopher Wray on notice, I guess.
Be afraid.
Yeah, I mean, it's something, man.
It is weird, yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a whole thing. Thank you for letting me go through that, and it's time to have a party, I think.
Go to canarycry.party, put it in your URL, and hit enter. Canarycry.party is a website with a tree of links that leads to everything from where to watch the show, listen to the show, how to produce the show, connect with us and the community.
That's right. Head on over to canarycry.party. There's all sorts of stuff there. You can find links to Ravel, which is a podcast I do with Dr. Christopher Ryan Gaetz. He's a PhD in biblical interpretation, and we explore scripture, society, and scandal, having tough conversations in good faith. We just dropped our 50th episode. My gosh, it's flying by. And we did it on Pentecost. So if you know kind of the conceit of Ravel, Chris is a Baptist. He's a Southern Baptist, to be specific. And I grew up in more of the charismatic background. And so we have a very interesting conversation about Pentecost and the different takes on what went down and what is the sort of consequence of that. It's a very interesting episode. Go check it out. Ravel. You can find it on canarycry.party or all your podcast players. You can also get links to the Canary Cry Clips channel, which you should go subscribe to on YouTube and Odyssey. It's this show, but it's clipped up, all the segments. So you get shareable, careable, bite-sized pieces of the show. That's good for review or turning people onto the show. Go share some of those clips. And last but not least, you can text the word Canary to 877-740-3226. That's Canary to 877-740-3226. And this is our text message alert program where we send out a text message whenever we go live, so you don't have to rely on big tech, lack of notifications, which tends to be our case.
Shadow banning notifications for some reason. Yeah.
And I'm happy to announce people keep signing up for that, and very, very few. We've only had like 3 people cancel their participation in that. So it's really, people are loving the text messages. So there you go. Canary, 877-740-3226.
All right.
And let's thank some producers while we're at it.
It's break time! Come on, take a break.
That's right. Just a quick break, folks. We're going to be thanking some producers of the show because we're on the value for value model. other quote unquote independent media, they spend a lot of time, they might take the same amount of time or even less time fundraising, keeping the show going, things like that, thanking their sponsors. The difference is they're doing it at the behest of corporate lizard people who are paying for the privilege to subtly psychologically manipulate you into buying things you don't need with money you don't have, as well as gaining access to your brain on a more spiritual level. Taking advertising dollars is literally selling the attention and the trust of the people who listen to your show or watch it or whatever. And that, just on a basic philosophical level, does not sit well with us. So we're on the value for value model, which is if you get value out of what we do, you just put some value back in. And there's lots of ways to do that with your time, your talent, or your treasure. We're going to thank some producers who came in with their treasure. And Gons, we're going to start off with our knight in shining armor. We had a executive producer come in.
Oh, yeah. I got buttons that are not ready to be pressed because you did not inform me of such
I did not know either. I've been rambling about Trump.
Producers.
Oh, yeah. Executive producers. They're the best. We love them. They keep the show going. We couldn't do it without them. Yes, and thank you to Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes.
Thank you, Dame Lynn.
Always coming and saving us in our moment of need. Dame Lynn comes in with 137.77.
Ooh,
That's a fun number.
Yeah.
And a note that says 137.77 plus fees. Love/need you guys. Gary, what day is it?
Oh gosh.
Oh, Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes, Maranatha to you as well, Dame Lynn.
It's definitely Monday.
Darling.
Gary, what day is it? Ow, Monday.
Thank you, Dame Lynn.
Thank you very much. Dame Lynn, Lady of the Lakes, saving our butts again.
She's the executive producer of episode
She's
525.
The executive producer of episode
Where'd you find this?
Okay, this is going to be a short segment today because, it's just one of those days. But I want to take a second and tell you about the supply drop. That's right, canarycrysupply.com. Look, you want to put value back into the show. That's the only way we continue. But for $33.33 a month, you are put on the exclusive list of people who receive free gifts from us 4 times a year. Once per quarter, we send a whole package filled with custom Canary Cry News Talk gear, everything from challenge coins to survival gear to things that are just plain fun. So if you go sign up at canarycrysupply.com, make sure to make it a monthly donation and give us your address. And it's very fun. Like I said, this upcoming supply drop includes the NWO Fantasy League can koozie. We've got the Sir Dove Knight of Resbeltia Bible art book, a whole book, like a coffee table book filled not just with cool art from Dove, but also, the Bible verses that can not only please your eyeballs in art form, but also please your spirit. That's very exciting. And we also have the Canary Cry Mixtape Volume 1 retro cassette tape. This is for true Canary Cry collectors. Very exciting. And it's being professionally produced. This is not just me, with my talk boy in front of my computer speakers. We're getting these professionally produced Canary Cry News Talk, Canary Cry Mixtape Volume 1. And for those who are collectors out there, you want to get in on this because we've got many more volumes of the Canary Cry mixtape coming up. And I think we're probably going to end up making more cassette tapes of all of them. So it'll be a very cool. And, the good thing about the cassette player, the cassette tape, is it's a non-digital format. It's an analog format. So when the cyber winter comes, the cyber pandemic hits from our good buddy Klaus Schwab, you will still have the music that kept this show going for so long. Yep, and we have at least one more person who signed up for the supply drop, and we're going to give them props. And that is producer Rose B.
Rose B, thank you.
Thank you very much, Rose B. And Rose B will be the lucky recipient of one of our promo items. Ooh. Remember, the cutoff for supply drop is September 1st. But if you sign up before September 1st, we're going to put a little something extra in your supply drop. You'll get one of the items from previous supply drops, a challenge coin, a Tweet Hungry Boys apron, a whole bevy of other things that we want to just bless new signer-uppers for. So thank you very much, Rose B, and everybody else. I recommend head on over to canarycrysupply.com, sign up, and we're all waiting for the supply drop. Waiting for supply drop.
Hey, before you go on, just real quick, if you're on YouTube, please hit the like button. That's one really
not
easy
doing
way.
Good on the likes over there?
No, it's just a really easy way to help the show. Yeah.
And also remember, if you're watching on YouTube, go right now while it's a break. Go right now and make a DLive account. You're going to have to catch the second part of the show on DLive because we're going to get into some things that are too hot for YouTube. All right. We got some more people to thank. We're thinking
on chapstick or something. What's going on over there?
Putting on some Burt's Bees here.
Okay.
So it'll be minty fresh when the producers' names come out my mouth.
Great.
Starting with producer Sir James Knight and Servant of the Lion of Judah.
Thank you, Sir James. Appreciate it. Coming in.
Sir James comes in. Glad to have him back. Sir James comes in for 5225. Fun little palindrome there.
For episode 525.
Yeah. And he says, good day, Canary Cry family. It has been a while since the last time I wrote. I decided to trade my daily episode streak for the March to episode 555. Yes, I was going to give an update on that because we're almost halfway to episode 555, and I wanted to give props to, this is not his note, this is me interjecting. I wanted to give props to those who are on the 500 to 555 knighthood track. So I'll probably do that in the next 2 episodes. The note continues, I decided I really want that other coin, as you should. I am also still supporting through the monthly supply drop. Man, Sir James, champion. Today I decided to support episode 525 with 5225. I have some sort of weird attraction to palindromes. I may go back to streaking after episode 555. Just know that I will continue to support in any way I can. May God continue to bless this awesome ministry. From Child of God, a.k.a. Sir James, Knight and Servant of the Lion of Judah.
Thank you, Sir James. It's very kind of you.
Thank you very much. And he asked us to look into North Korea-Ukraine story that he gave us. We're going to look into that.
We'll cover that on Wednesday. We'll have a big Ukraine package there. So
that's right.
Yep.
Thank you very much, Sir James.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Servant of the Lion of Judah. Next up, we've got producer Morv. Morv is on a 130 episode streak.
That is a very long streak.
Yes, indeed.
No, he's not there yet.
Oh, yeah!
Thank you so much.
The computer's being attacked over here.
Yeah, it happens.
Yeah.
Yep, comes in with the 1111. Thank you very much, Morv.
Thank you, Morv.
We have producer Nicholas P. coming in with 1111.
Thank you, Nicholas P.
Mm-hmm. We also have producer Isaac G.
Isaac G, thank you.
Yeah. Let's see here. Isaac G had a note, I think. Yes, he came in for $17.23 and a note that says Acts 17:23. For a while I was passing through and examining the objects of your worship. I also found an altar with this inscription, quote, to an unknown God. Ooh.
Burning Man.
Yes, he's talking. Yes, a reference there to the Camp of the Unknown God, as well as, who was that? Was that... who went up on the hill there, found the unknown God? Was that Peter or Paul?
I am distracted right now.
I want to say it's Paul. But
I want to say it's Paul too, because it's epistles. But yeah, it could have been Peter. I am not thinking straight. Go ahead.
No worries. Do your thing. Stay focused. Okay. Next up, we've got Sir LX Protocol V2, Night of the Breen Protocol.
Thank you, Sir LX Protocol V2.
He's on a 68 episode stretch. And he says, Gary, what day is it?
Gary, what day is it? Monday.
It is Monday. Sir Alex Protocol comes in with a pocket full of sevens and says, thank you for all the great content. Thank you, Sir Alex Protocol V2. Next, we have Nicodemus coming in. Pocket full of sevens.
Pocket full of sevens. All right. Thank you, Nicodemus.
It's got a note that says, great show, 10 out of 10. I am a podcast listener, but it's annoying you keep getting deleted from the platforms over nothing. You're telling me. I'd like to make audio jingles for the show, but I'm not sure where to get started. Just call me by my first name, Nick or Nicodemus. Oh, I did it. Yeah, where to get started? I would need to know a little bit more. Is he talking about like software or...
Yeah, like what jingle,
like which
or is
jingle
it,
to make, or want to learn how to do jingles?
Are you picking up the piano or a MIDI keyboard for the first time? Like where are we at? We have no context here, so
here's our tips. Here's our tips for people who want to make jingles. First of all, we call out jingles that we need randomly throughout the show when it occurs to us. That's about as much of the workflow we get involved in. We like them short. Keep them 3 seconds. 5 seconds if you have to. Once we get longer than 5 seconds, it ceases to be a real jingle and turns into just a mini song or something. A nice little melody is nice. You know, they don't need to be super exciting or like, I don't know, radio jammy or something, although some of them are great that way. But if you're just starting out, you know, a simple little tune on a synth or a keyboard, and either a clip, you could do like a voice clip from whoever, you know, is talking, maybe from the news or something, or just sing it yourself, you know. Let's see, maybe we need a how to make a jingle. Doop deep a deep doop doop jingle, something like that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Nicodemus.
Thank you, Nicodemus.
And other than that, if you want, send us an email. Get on the Discord, the Canary Cry Discord.
Oh yeah, that needs to be updated. I tried to get in there and I got kicked out or something.
Really?
And now I can't get back in. Yeah, that button's not working.
I put a permanent invite link on there. Apparently it didn't work. Anyways, there's the Jingle Boy group in Discord where a lot of the Jingle people, you know, coordinate and help each other out and share tips and tricks and stuff like that. That's a great way to get started.
Cool.
Okay, as far as I can tell, that is the complete list of producers who came in the amount of 777 or more, which entitles them to have a note read on the show. We got some people who came in under that, but we will thank them later on. So, if you're good, I'm good, Gons.
Shut up and take my money.
Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your patronage.
Yes, it's wake-up time.
Hey, yo, wake up.
Polly.
It's Latin for many.
Tick.
Now suck your blood.
Politics.
Your blood.
Just want to do this real quick before we get into some Christian nationalist stuff, and it comes from Politico. And the headline here is, wow, politicians are really bad at podcasting.
Which is so funny, because Politico, you know, anybody can read Politico, but the whole conceit of Politico is that it's like, it's Washington, D.C.'s newspaper. Like, this is the magazine that politicians listen to or watch, read, whatever. So to have them like explicitly condemning politicians who try to podcast is kind of slamming them in front of their peers, the actual politicians that they name in here.
Maybe it's meant to light a fire under them or something.
Maybe.
I don't know.
Yeah,
but
just like
I'll just read a little bit here and then some highlights. At the top here, it says, as the medium has grown, that's podcasting, over the past decade, so has the desire among our current and former elected officials to get their news to you straight from the horse's mouth, absent all the pesky perspectives and context that journalists bring to the table. Even the normally staid congressional news site Roll Call covered the phenomenon in 2020, saying, sorry, that, quote, Congress wants to get into your ear holes, end quote. Some of them are even quite successful. Quote, Verdict with Ted Cruz, co-hosted with the right-wing gadfly Michael Knowles, consistently ranks among Apple's top news podcasts, as does the offering from a similarly loquacious former fellow senator, the Al Franken podcast.
Jeez Louise.
I know. But are they any good? As Politico magazine's de facto podcast critic. Oh, wow. Okay. This guy's the Politico magazine's de facto podcast critic, and somewhat of a guilty and reluctant addict of the medium myself. I set out to answer that question for you, dear reader, with a single-minded dedication. I spent an entire day, from the moment I opened my eyes to the moment at the end of the day when I stepped off the subway in my neighborhood and waved the white flag, consuming nothing but podcasts hosted by our democratically elected representatives.
And he got paid for it.
He spent a whole
did it
day.
for his job, a whole day. Wow. He
By
gets
my
paid
calculation,
to listen to podcasts.
By my calculation, I listened to 583 minutes of podcasting in a single day, or nearly 10 hours of programming. I do not recommend that you do this.
That's funny.
The experience,
there's definitely days that I listen to 10 hours of podcast.
Oh, easy. I'll easily do 10 hours. The experience was not entirely without moments of joy or curiosity, although the extent to which this might be ascribed to Stockholm Syndrome would require a trained professional to determine. But overall, it was characterized by a crushing, mind-melting boredom. And he goes
I like
on.
how he hyperlinked Stockholm Syndrome, and it takes you to the clevelandclinic.org Stockholm Syndrome page.
Of course. So it goes into just a couple podcasts that he's referencing here, and Matt Gaetz is mentioned.
We got names. Oh, Matt Gaetz has a podcast.
Apparently, Ted Cruz, who I saw Ted Cruz tweet out, end the IRS or something.
Yeah.
Got a lot of clicks and retweets.
Well, that's the fun part. Yeah, once the politicians, especially the GOP, they turned their ire away from the FBI and toward the IRS.
Yep. Very strategic there. That talks about Cruz and Knowles. And then let me just get to the highlights here. Another might feature Crenshaw's buddy. They talk about Dan Crenshaw. Another podcast might feature Crenshaw's buddy and fellow Republican Representative Mike Gallagher gabbing about the CIA's remote viewing experiments or different Batman incarnations. Oh.
You want to hear politicians talk about secret CIA black ops and Gen Z's version of Batman?
I think Trump can win the election if he came out in the Batman suit and said, "Hey, Batman." It's not unlike a decaffeinated version of the Joe Rogan Experience, a non-scholarly but deeply curious person trying in earnest to educate his listeners. Oh, slam! That's not to say that the program is utterly lacking in partisan or ideological content. It features plenty of slaps at Bidenomics and wokeness, but its lack of stridency and Crenshaw's easy nature made it most enjoyable listen of the day. Look at that. Dan Crenshaw, World Economic Forum fellow. The most
young global leader.
Globally, most enjoyable listen, according to this guy. Goes into some other people, and then he goes on here. This is not a partisan exercise, however. Far from it. The Democratic podcasts I listened to were, for the most part, even less enjoyable than the Republican counterparts.
That's funny.
The inherent sterility of a politician-led podcast ramped up to 11 by the hyper-professionalism and rhetorical piety that defines the party in its modern incarnation. By the time I crossed the aisle, so to speak, in the early afternoon, I was desperate for a change of scenery, something to break the monotony of stale Nancy Pelosi jokes, and when we beat them in November, get out the vote politicking.
Ugh.
Be careful what you wish for.
Horrible.
Oh, it sounds awful. I'm sure it is horrible. And yeah, it goes into some, Al Franken podcast, and we're talking about George Floyd.
I love it. Naming names.
I know, dropping names on them. Let's see. What else do I have highlighted? Each effort. Oh, this is the end of the article. Each effort thus far has been a failure. But a joint failure. Politicians are incapable of rising to the level of personability necessary to make a great podcast. Yes, but even the best podcasts don't ultimately deliver what we want from them. All right, this is what we want from our politicians. A sense of connectedness and community, to know fundamentally that we have a friend. Oh, we just want a friend in politics.
Yeah.
That sounds a lot less like something that can be accomplished by entertainment than, well, a political project. We don't need politicians to be our time wasters or our educators or our friends. We need them to lead and to use the power they actually do have to build a world where we feel more connected in real life.
Well, see, and that's the whole thing right there is, look, leave the podcasting to the podcasters. Politicians, just do some politics, man. Just do something.
Well,
the pressure to be so many things if you want to be a politician really is one of the aspects of American politics that is tearing us apart.
Yeah.
Is that these politicians, they think they need to be activists, they think they need to be entertainers, they think they need to be all these different things. And it's making him bad at being politicians.
Right.
I have gotten closer and closer to agreeing with those certain technocrats who say we don't even need representatives anymore.
Smart
through
contracts, baby.
Yeah, right.
Democratically decided.
Just do every bill, every whatever. Just do a
Constitution DAO.
A nationwide
everybody gets a vote.
Voting system, blockchain voting system, and just we don't need representatives.
Yeah.
You needed representatives when you had to get on a horse and ride 7 weeks to go vote for something.
They've
now
created such a condition that you are agreeing with the technocrats. That is very interesting.
I know.
You're riding the solution train to the problem reaction solution.
I admit that the technology isn't quite there. We can't rely on that kind of voting. I get it, but I'm just tired of these people, man.
Yeah, a couple of interesting points. One, Trump has not done a podcast as far as I know, and we know from recently that he tried to get on Joe Rogan, and Joe Rogan said no. So if Trump's going to get on a podcast, it'll be a big deal, right? And that
he doesn't want to climb. He doesn't want to climb the guest ladder.
Right.
He wants to just immediately go on the biggest one.
Just want the top. Yeah. And the other point here is at the very bottom, it talks about we want to feel connected. We want to feel community. You know who's kind of doing that?
You are already sort of a cybernetic symbiote. Neural nets are taking over from regular programming. So you are connected.
You're connected. We're already connected. So maybe this is just staging everything for the downfall of your traditional politician and the rise of the techno oligarch to take over everything. So yeah, fun times.
All right.
Along those lines.
But when it comes to podcasting, leave it to the podcasting.
Sure. Well, I'm not saying that Elon did podcast on Joe Rogan and got, a lot of followers.
He ain't got the time.
Yeah. All right, let's talk a little Christian nationalism.
So you see, I also call myself a Christian nationalist, and that's not a bad word.
Oh Lord, bless this thy hand grenade, that with it thou mayst blow thine enemies to tiny bits in thy mercy. God will make you pay. Smite them.
Yes, smite them. This is an interesting thing for us to do, which is report something from the Babylon Bee, which we know is a satirical website here. But I think it is worth talking about in the context of Christian nationalism that we've been tracking. And so the Babylon Bee...
I want to make a quick comment before you read it.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think this article you're about to read from the Babylon Bee introduces so much more complexity to what it means to be a Christian in America and see this Christian nationalist which was already complex because there's the real Christian nationalists, and then there's the media boogeymen of Christian nationalism. Then there's the interchurch conversation about Christian nationalism, and then there's the Babylon Bee coming in and making it even more complicated.
Yeah.
So it is fun, but there is some real thinking to be done here.
Yeah. So the headline here is "The Babylon Bee Explains Christian Nationalism." And it's got this header picture here with a family in a church pew there reading the Bible. And then the Babylon Bee explains Christian nationalism written in bloody gore. Christian nationalism is a satanic movement. Remember, this is satire. Christian nationalism is a satanic movement in which Christians love America and vote for Republicans. It is literally the evilest thing that has ever existed in this country and the gravest danger the American church has ever faced. It is important to stop this wicked, depraved, idolatrous movement before they organize another insurrection or worse, elect a Republican. Origins. One day, Trump had a meeting with Satan in his underground lair and concocted a diabolical plan to trick Christians into voting for him by banning abortion and helping all the people find jobs. Thus, Christian nationalism was born, and millions of so-called Christians voted for Trump, even though he's a sinner. Despicable beliefs. Christian nationalists literally worship Trump. They think he's a god. They pray to him and stuff. At least some of them do. At least we think. The rest worship Jesus, but still voted for Trump, which is really no different than worshiping him. Shame. Methods, and there's a list here, bullet points. Methods, prayer, voting for Republicans, going to church, having lots of kids, being white. Can also be black or Hispanic, but voting for Trump automatically makes them white. Memorizing the Constitution, building walls, insurrection, dancing around a golden Trump statue and sacrificing virgins in a roaring fire in the light of a full moon. Notable accomplishments: making America the most racist country in the world, turning millions away from Christianity, overturning Roe v. Wade. How to spot a Christian nationalist? You can always tell a Christian nationalist by their MAGA hats. If they're not wearing a MAGA hat, you'll know by when they say things like, "I love America," or, "Gee, I'm not a fan of what Biden's doing." Just like the Nazis. This is pretty funny. Famous Christian nationalists: Hitler, Satan, and Trump. But we repeat ourselves. Famous enemies of Christian nationalism: AOC, Joseph Stalin, Fidel Castro, David French. Okay, so we have this article that is satirically trying to make fun of the way Christian nationalists are painted by maybe the likes of The Atlantic that we've reported on, or some other outlets who really try to make it seem like kind of what the Babylon Bee is doing here. They're like, oh, if you're a Christian nationalist, you are this like horrible, almost unbiblical person. You're almost a Satan worshiper. They don't really quite go that far, but that's where the satire comes in. But at the same time, we're seeing this kind of disappointed me in a sense, because it still misses the main kind of thing with Christian nationalism, the whole Psyop element that we've been talking about historically and whatnot. It's interesting to see Babylon Bee quasi defend Christian nationalism by using satire, which goes into the conversation about memes and the left can't meme and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Is kind of annoying. I had my Skype muted on accident, so the podcast listeners will hear me trying to butt in and you doing a wonderful job of ignoring me.
Oh, that's how I do it. Okay, just pretend like you're muted.
I'm like,
okay, I know for future
wow,
reference.
he's really just blasting through on this one. Okay. No, I've never felt so attacked by the Babylon Bee.
Okay. Wow.
It's interesting. They've had a few things, and I'm a pretty easygoing guy. There's a lot of things to make fun about me and the way I was, brought up and things like that. And, the Babylon Bee is no stranger to like making fun of charismatics or Pentecostals or whatever, and that's fine. But to hear reading this as it sort of it just gave the vibe that it is defending Christian nationalism.
Right.
Yeah,
which is troublesome because they don't quite get like the nuance of what's happening here. They're just kind of towing the Republican or just taking the bait, so to speak, that is placed in front of them to like, hey, you should defend Christian nationalism because you're constitutionalist and right wing and conservative and a Republican and all that stuff.
As if there were no legit criticisms of Christian nationalism within the church. You know, it kind of, and part of it is it's just not a very good representation of how Christians should be thinking about Christian nationalism.
Yeah. Again, it really misses the main point about the Psyop element stemming from
totally.
Yeah, the 40s.
I want to go further into the Psyop thing, but even the very first sentence, Christian nationalism is a satanic movement in which Christians love America and vote for Republicans. I read that and I was like, well, yeah, I mean, you could describe it that way.
There is no, if you take it from our perspective of what we've been talking about, there is kind of like a, I mean, you're almost admitting you're buying.
Putting nation over Jesus, especially because a lot of the Christian nationalist stuff, or at least the real evidence, the real Christian nationalists, not the media representation, but straight from their mouth, their own videos, will advocate. They won't even mention Jesus at all. While advocating basically taking over the country.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of should make Christians uncomfortable when you see that.
Yeah.
Whether or not that's truly satanic, I don't know, but I could see somebody describing it that way unironically.
Yeah. Well, there's a line in here too. So it says one day Trump had a meeting with Satan in his underground lair and concocted a diabolical plan to trick Christians into voting for him by banning abortion and helping all people find jobs. Just that part, a diabolical plan to trick Christians into voting. That's kind of what this is, like in the context of.
We've literally seen that documented. And the creation of the Christian voting bloc as a controllable group of people was an actual strategy put on paper in order to win elections versus considering them just a citizen, just like everybody else.
Yeah.
There were strategies and agenda to coagulate all American Christians into one voting bloc versus, whatever, letting them vote how they want to vote.
Yeah. I referenced back just real briefly to Two Masters and Two Gospels by our friend Dr. Future. And on page 170, he was citing a gentleman named, let me try to find the name, Jonathan Herzog. He's an academic historian, and he was kind of talking about the history of the intel operations in the 40s and stuff. And he says, this is Dr. Future summarizing. He states that our American leaders were concerned at the start of the Cold War that Americans might actually find communism desirable over the unbridled capitalism of the moneyed interests in America, and thus they felt they had to emphasize its one desirable attribute, which, for communism, which is atheism, to exploit to sway the public. One of its tenets was to sell communism as a religion and thus worthy of a religious-fueled holy war, much like with the Islam today. He notes a key event held in May 1947 at the White House, where CEOs and media moguls met under the auspices of the Justice Department, naming their new group the American Heritage Foundation. They proposed to invigorate a generic quote-unquote faith or civil religion into the public square to win the Cold War propaganda and psychological conflict. It initiated a quote freedom train that carried the nation's founding documents from city to city, much like the Lenin train in 1918, while local community organizers were told to host quote community rededication weeks and Interfaith Day. And the American Heritage Foundation also wrote the Freedom Pledge to be recited in mass as the train passed through towns in the New Orleans Sugar Bowl. 75,000 people recited the Freedom Pledge in unison. Attorney General Tom Clark and FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover, who a decade later led the COINTELPRO and other programs to infiltrate American peace and civil rights groups as agent provocateurs to investigate violence, helped spearhead the campaign. So, just right there, I mean, we can go on and on and on. Dr. Future documented a lot of this, and Herzog has documented all the stuff. So, intel operation, a psychological operation to control the masses into believing that they need to vote a certain way, act a certain way, shape their faith a certain way to fight the enemies of America. And that's kind of the same playbook that we're seeing with Christian nationalism. So when I see Babylon Bee, do this, it's funny, but also very disappointing. Like, come on, guys. There's a little bit more to nuance. There's a little bit more to this. And I guess the problem is the politicization. It's like uncool to not defend Christian nationalism in a certain sense, and at least in certain circles. And so, yeah, I don't know. That's why in the headline or the title of this episode, in the subheadline, I have Babylon Boo, because, boo, boo, not fun.
Even someone in the chat here, there's a message says, deconstructionist Kevin Max is all about Christian nationalism today. Must be the hip new thing to be against. So kind of the implication there being to be against Christian nationalism is, first of all, of course, other people are talking about it now. That's just how our lives work, Gons. But yeah, so to criticize Christian nationalism is to side with deconstructionists or something. And that's called a Psyop, first of all.
Yeah.
So keep that in mind. Number two, so, even the idea now to criticize Christian nationalism is considered weak or not really Christian or something like that to some. And I think that's kind of the vibe that this Babylon Bee thing gives, which is like, oh, you don't like Christian nationalism? Well, we're going to make fun of you now and misrepresent. Now, look, if you use this Babylon Bee, you use this Babylon Bee as an example of media criticism, like that I get. Them criticizing like The Atlantic for writing what they wrote about rosaries or whatever.
Right.
That is applicable. But I think it's pretty dangerous to give the impression to Christians that to not support Christian nationalism makes you not a good Christian is a very dangerous thing.
That's playing exactly. It's buying into the misrepresentation.
And straight psyop, honestly.
That's what I'm saying. It's a psyop to
keep the Christian voting bloc cohesive.
Yeah, and it's troubling to me. I mean, it's caused me to start considering writing a Medium article to just lay out some of the facts behind the history, and hopefully that can maybe make the rounds. And
you just got to ask yourself. You got to ask yourself, who would benefit from, to put it in certain words, who would benefit from demonizing anti-Christian nationalism? It's Trump. It's Republicans. I mean, those are the people who benefit when you shut down criticism about Christian nationalism. Desire your government to reflect your own beliefs. That is totally okay. I'm not even saying that's a abnormal thing to want. But you can't. That is just not the way it's supposed to go. You're not supposed to take over countries by, force or violence being one aspect of it. But also coercive means is not a great way to do it either. And no, that is not me giving support to, abortion or giving support to whatever sort of example you want to give. It's simply recognizing that Jesus did not do what he did so that we could, control Congress or something.
Right. Yeah, it's the little nuances. It's kind of the critical thinking about the situation. It's looking at the history of the situation that causes us to be not very popular amongst the masses and hanging out on the fringes,
This is why we will continue to be on the fringes. Even though everything we've been covering for 10 years is now mainstream, we continue to find ways to keep ourselves on the fringes. And I think in this case, not supporting, a certain version of Christian nationalism is our new version of, what makes us fringy around here.
Yeah, and they really go after Andrew Torba. There's an ADL.org article, the 5 things that you should know about Andrew Torba, and they just, he's the Gab founder, and they really go after him. Then there's the Washington Post, who published the article, Republicans Mostly Mum on Calls to Make GOP Party of Christian Nationalism. And again, it's really highlighting Marjorie Taylor Greene. And, man, the Psyop is coming from all sides when it comes to us, Basil, because, Marjorie Taylor Greene talked about the Jewish space lasers, not those words, but that's how it was characterized. And, those are real things. Those are things we've talked about. So somehow we get lumped in with the Christian nationalist kind of crowd, the Marjorie Taylor Greene flavor. But then also we're pushing back on this idea of Christian nationalism and showing how it's probably likely a political psyop. We're getting
lumped in with deconstructionists. I know, we just can't win.
Can't win.
There is one thing that comes from this that communicates a positive note, and that is the war over the Christian voting bloc is so rife with intensity and psychological operations and that the value of the Christian voting bloc, it really shows the value of the Christian voting bloc.
Yeah.
They would not be fighting this hard over it if it didn't matter.
Right.
It really does show the value and the strength that Christians have as a whole, or the church has as a whole in the United States, that such resources and such intensity and such effective psychological operations need to be put into use to try to gain control of it.
Yeah.
And again, like you said, coming from all sides.
Yeah.
So that is a bit of, that should be encouraging to the church, knowing that, the church is so valuable politically that it is being fought over vociferously. But that does mean that it's going to be,
there's a risk. Targeted.
There's a risk of tearing it apart.
Yeah. That's probably what they want.
You're being pulled in two different directions. Tearing it apart is sort of the ultimate, if it's not the goal, it's certainly a risk.
Well, I think this issue in particular, it has caused many Republicans to come out and push back against it, which starts swinging the pendulum back the other way. We saw it really swing conservative right wing, and this type of thing can really start swinging a lot of Republicans to, be more, not aligned per se, but just sort of in this context of this particular topic, more agreeable with a Democrat, perhaps. So,
right.
Just things to look out for, because the pendulum is always swinging. And once you think you have something, Babylon Bee on the upswing of everything moving conservative, moving right, they really, led the way in terms of the satire and all that kind of stuff. But they could get trapped in this kind of nasty place where they really go deep and defend this, and then eventually they kind of
gets sticky.
Yeah, they lose some of their influence and stuff. So,
and I will give Babylon Bee the benefit of the doubt in that they are primarily, I'd say, a media criticism satirical site, where they are
maybe not
criticizing.
Taking a stance.
Right, they're criticizing the media, and if the media is paying attention to Christian nationalism, the Babylon Bee is going to respond to it, and I'm gonna give that to them. This is a piece of media criticism, and perhaps not a guiding light for Christians within the church.
Well, yes, hopefully that is the case for any satirical outlet, but yeah.
Hopefully,
yeah. All right, let's take another break.
Let's listen to some voicemails.
Yeah, let's do it.
Please leave a message after the tone.
At the tone, please record your message.
Leave a message. Beep.
Message! Yeah, if you head on over to canarycrynewstalk.com, you'll see a little tab on the bottom or the right-hand side. Click on that. A little button will pop up. You click that button, you can leave us a voice message. You're giving us permission to play that voice message, but it's not guaranteed. Gons, what do we got coming in?
We got one message here from Mrs. Fishes.
Hey, Basil and Gons. This is Ashley. I am Sir Salmon's wife. I just wanted to hop on here. He doesn't know I'm doing this, so a little shout out to him. Also wanted to shout out to you, Basil, because you had said something a while ago about not being able to legislate people into the kingdom of heaven, and that's really stuck with me the past few months. I don't remember what episode you said it in. And it's just really changed my perspective on the whole politics side of things and just how everything's going down with supposed Christians and whatever in the politics world. Also, just wanted to give a shout out to all the people that we met at the Canary Cry meetup in Pennsylvania a couple months ago. Just so grateful for those friendships and the fellowship that we were able to have there with everybody. Looking forward to the camping trip in October coming up that the Doves are setting up. Very excited to test out our Apocalypse group. Braving it out in the wilderness overnight and just enjoying some good feast time. So anybody in Pennsylvania wants to join us for that, please just contact the Doves and let them know. It will be an absolute blast. I already know. Thank you, Basil and Gons, for doing this and just for being such an amazing team sharing the gospel through the news.
Thank you.
Wow. Good timing on that message.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. Thank you very much, Ashley. And that October, I got it pulled up here. October 15th is the Canary Cry Russ Beltia Meetup 2 Feast of Tabernacles at the Bald Eagle State Forest in Pennsylvania. They'll be doing an overnight meetup there, and you can contact Dove Merari at gmail.com. That's Dove, Merari at gmail.com to get involved. And if you are around the Pennsylvania area, they make it very convenient here. 3 hours from Pittsburgh, 4 hours from Cleveland, 3 hours from Baltimore, 3.5 from Buffalo, random art giveaways and all sorts of fun stuff. This is a fun gang. And I had not considered this is good apocalypse team training going on.
I discovered YouTube Shorts recently. Not that I discovered it, but I've been kind of watching, and the algorithms are giving me a lot of like wilderness kind of stuff, and so I'm learning all these different ways you can start a fire, and it's very fascinating. All the things you wouldn't think of, So
gotta know how to start a fire.
Yeah, maybe look some of that stuff up and hand out.
You gonna go to Pennsylvania?
It's a little far.
Show off your fire skills at the
little far. Yeah, I'll set the whole meetup on fire and then run away, and then you'll know I was there.
Thank you very much, Ashley, for your message. Very encouraging.
Appreciate it.
We can't wait to hear how that goes in October.
Yep. All right, we got some more people to thank under the $7.77 cutoff.
Oh, no more messages.
I don't think so. Yeah, we're done with messages.
Here's a little tip, because somebody did send one in during the show.
Oh,
just so you know. Yeah. We if it comes in during the show, there's not enough time to prepare it and get it on the show. So you'll be on the next one. Okay, let's thank some people who came in under the 777 cutoff for the notes to be read on the show. We're thanking them now, starting with Sir Darren, Night of the Hungry Panda. 35 episodes in a row.
35. Thank you, Sir Darren.
Thank you, Sir Darren. We got Sir Scott, Knight of Truth, 185 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir Scott.
We've got the Streak Sisters, Veronica D, 161 episodes in a row.
Women rule.
Thank you, Veronica D.
And of course, we got Gail M with 161.
Women rule.
Thank you, Gail M.
Let's see. We got Sir Casey the Shield Knight, 196. Oh my gosh, episodes in a row.
Thank you, Sir Casey.
Runk Smash, 22 episodes in a row.
Thank you, Runk Smash.
There we go. That concludes our list of financial producers. Thank you all for making this show happen. And again, if you want to produce the show, remember, it can only continue with value getting put back into the system. That's how we know that we are creating value, and that's how we can continue to do it. Head on over to canarycryradio.com/support.
CanaryCryRadio.com/support.
And if you would like to support the Burning Man mission this year, just put it in your note or whatever, or send us an email if you produce and you want it to go towards that. That would be very helpful. Thank you very much. I think that's it.
All right.
Shut up and take my money.
Thank you for your patronage. Thank you for your patronage. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for your patronage.
Sorry about that.
Okay, it's happening. Everybody stay calm. Everybody stay calm. What's the procedure?
Twitch, Rumble, Odyssey, Twitter, Facebook, whatever it is, you can find all those links at canarycry.party as well. Too hot for YouTube. That's right. YouTube.
Now you see me. Now you don't.
Head on over, YouTube. Head on over to the D Live. I'm going to... Did you cut them off already?
No, not yet.
Okay, hold on. Yeah, don't cut them off quite yet. I'm going to copy and paste our D Live link. And the reason I'm suggesting D Live is because our Twitch is still suspended. Have not heard anything from the appeal process. And D Live, I believe, is the one... I think that's the only... it's the last outlet that will let us bring the chat into the live stream. So if you want your chat to be seen, D Live's the place to go. I just put the link into the chat there. Follow that. You might have to make an account, but you might not. I don't know. And just a quick heads up, I have replaced the Discord invite link at canarycry.party, so people can go ahead and join the Discord now.
All right. We'll see you later,
Okay.
YouTubers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right.